Hey, yo, what is going on, podcast people? Man, it's so great to have you back here for yet another episode of Beyond the Podcast. Yes, another episode of Beyond the Podcast as we are in WrestleMania season. Today is WrestleMania 40, and I know this is a completely different championship belt. Do not own a WWE championship quite yet, but hopefully one day we'll make that change for us. So for right now, one of my favorite championship belt designs. I'll hold this up. I held this up during the James Jeffries interview, but oh yeah, this thing is classic. It's iconic, and I love it. And for right now, it's going to go on the floor. Man, how you doing? Saturday, it is a WrestleMania Saturday. Do gotta make a quick apology before we start anything of today's episode. I know you've seen the thumbnail and you know what we're going to talk about, but just before we start all of that, need to apologize for not getting an episode out on Friday. Gotta be honest, personal life has been just a little bit crazy. I will be honest. I am moving here very, very soon. Literally next weekend, I am moving. I've got 3 episodes to record. I've got 3 interviews coming up here next week and the week after. It is a busy time in the Tyler household. So I apologize for not getting an episode out on Friday. Life has gotten crazy. And when this isn't your primary job, it can get a little bit hard to, maintain everything all at once. So my apologies for not getting you an episode out on Friday, but hopefully this is a good substitute because, in a lot of ways, this podcast has been evolving, it's been changing, and hopefully this is a way to continue what we're doing and kind of what we started with the last episode of just trying something new. So welcome to this very special edition of Beyond the Podcast. Yes, it's the secondary part of Beyond the Broadcast where we talk about things outside of the interviews. Might keep this name changed for a little bit longer. We'll see what happens. But for right now, welcome to this special edition. Like I said in the intro, it is WrestleMania Saturday. Man, what an exciting time it is to be a wrestling fan. I mean, this whole weekend is going to be awesome. We've had already a ton of awesome wrestling events. GCW had Shayna Baszler, and now the name is completely Pete Dempsey. Is that how it is? William Regal's son was on GCW Bloodsport. Really awesome event. If you have a chance, go watch the highlights. The craziest show you'll see, except for WrestleMania, of course. But GCW, got to give them some love. And of course, there's a lot more events leading up to this. We had AEW, not Collision. Is it Collision? AEW's got 3 shows. I cannot keep them all separated in my head at one point. But AEW had shows last night. There's another couple of events that were leading up to WrestleMania. But night 1 is tonight. And of course, I'm going to give you all my predictions for night 1 and night 2 for these matches. The first time I recorded this podcast episode, I tried to do it. I went into a lot more detail than I wanted to with the men's and women's Final 4 matches, but I realized I don't know basketball, and I do not know a lot of the players' names. So I scrapped that idea, and we are dedicating a whole episode to WrestleMania 40 predictions. We're locking in our answers today, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be just a little bit of a wrestling nerd today. And who knows, maybe this is where the podcast direction goes. Maybe we just go in the direction of wrestling and, talking with independent wrestlers. And who knows, man? That would be so much fun, wouldn't it? Talking to any and all independent wrestlers. Man, that'd be a blast. But I digress. Let's talk WrestleMania 40. It is tonight, night number 1. Of course, we do have Stand and Deliver coming up here this morning. I think 11 o'clock Central? Close to 11 o'clock Central where I'm at. I'm going to watch it, of course, because that Carmelo Hayes and Swerve Strickland. Yeah, I'm right. I was like, no, not Swerve Strickland. That's the wrong Trick Williams. There we go. I have, again, it's been a long day already for me recording this here, of course, on Friday. But that Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes match is set to be one of the best Stand and Deliver matches since probably Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Who knows? That's going to be exciting here this morning. let's talk WrestleMania night number 1. A lot of stacked matches. I've got the entire thing written down on my phone here, so we're going to go through each of the matches. We'll give a little bit of a synopsis, my thoughts on the match, and of course, who is going to win. Now, I am not doing the betting odds, so if my predictions so happen to match what the betting odds are saying, I say go with it. That's if you're a betting man, you want to make some bets here this time around, of course, by all means, take my words into consideration, maybe. Let's get it started. Night number 1 of WrestleMania. Man, this is going to be a stacked day of wrestling. There are a few, I'll watch it, but who knows? So night number 1, let's talk about probably the order of what it's going to be. I'm going to go from the bottom up from what I see. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar and Dirty Dom Mysterio. Man, this is going to be a really high-flying, fast-paced match. I'm so excited for this one. I know it's not a tag team title match. I know it's kind of I don't want to say a thrown together match, but Rey Mysterio gets another WrestleMania moment. Dragon Lee, the newest signee from Mexico, going to get his time in the spotlight. And Santos Escobar, who of course turned his back to the LWO, is now teaming up with Dirty Dom Mysterio. I personally do think that Santos Escobar, Dominic Mysterio are going to get the win. These are two guys that are heels in the company. Of course, there's no one who has more heat right now in the WWE than Dominic Mysterio. And just for the amount of screen time that they have gotten in recent weeks, I really think we're going to see Santos Escobar and Dirty Dom pick up them victories. Let's move on to this big 3v3 matchup in the women's division. Of course, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi. They take on Damage Control of Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. I think it's Kairi Sane is how you say it. I've seen some people say Kairi. I think it's Kairi Sane. Please feel free to say I'm stupid in the comments below. This is going to be an interesting match. Damage Control, as of recently, maybe has not had the spotlight as it should. Of course, with Io Sky and Bayley having that big championship match night number 2. Again, it's another thrown together match. Another one that's on night 2 is kind of thrown together somewhat. I really do think, knowing WWE and knowing the spotlight they have been shining on Jade Cargill, there's no way that, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi do not pick up the victory on night number 1. Jade Cargill is going to be a superstar for a long time. Been confused about how she's been booked recently. Has not had any appearances on NXT. Has not even wrestled a match. I mean, technically her debut, if you want to call it her debut, was at the Royal Rumble. And, you can call that in some ways a debut, if you want to say that, but this is her debut match at WrestleMania. She's going to have the spotlight shown on her. Of course, Naomi and Bianca Belair are going to be able to show what they're all about as well. But I'm going to have to say that Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi pick up the victory against Damage Control. Of course, with Jade Cargill, they want to make her look as superstar as possible. So I really think that Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi will pick up the victory. Let's move on to one of the most exciting matchups, and one that has, I don't want to say a little bit of controversy behind it, but a little bit of confusion behind it. It is the 6-pack ladder match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, made up of the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Of course, DIY, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa making their WrestleMania debuts. Of course, the Awesome Truth of Miz and R-Truth, the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Of course, you got A-Town Down Under. Try saying that 5 times fast. Of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. And of course, the New Catch Republic of Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. This could go any way. And I do want to say this much, though. I was listening to the recent episode of Ask CVV, Insight with Chris Van Fleet. And he really talked about how this championships, the 4 belts need to become 2. I do agree with that. I think WWE is going away from the branded championships in a way with the red and the blue, and I think they're going to more traditional championships like we see with the World Heavyweight Championship and the Women's World Championship, and of course with the WWE Championship, undisputed or undisputed WWE Universal Championship. God, that's a long name. I digress. The brand split stuff is converging into one, and I think we might see that, Raw after Mania, might see some new title belts. We'll see. But as far as the championship goes, I do think this is the moment that Finn Balor and Damian Priest drop the titles. If there's any moment where it seems like they're going to drop it, it might be here at Mania. There's a few teams that come to mind of which that could pick up the victory. DIY being one of them, of course. Storied tag team. Y'all know what they did in NXT. Y'all know how much they beat the crap out of each other in NXT. It would be really cool to see DIY winning the titles and then, the whole thing. Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, they're always set to face each other one-on-one. Who knows? That might be interesting to see on the main roster. I do think, with the controversy between Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, maybe they're in the match, maybe they're not in the match. Who knows? There's been rumors afloat of they're not going to be in the match, but, a certain tag team might be making their return once again to WrestleMania. I'm talking, of course, the Hardy Boyz. I don't think if the Hardy Boyz do come back, and if they are in the match, I don't think they win. You know what I mean? They won at WrestleMania 33. They had that moment. I don't think they do that here. I think there's two really good teams right now that could pick up the win. I think DIY has a really nice chance of winning. They've been getting a lot of really good push. Also, the Awesome Truth, I think, are the favorites for a lot of fans to win the championships. That would be so much fun. I mean, give R-Truth the championship. That's all I'm going to say. I know he's a 54-time, 24/7, 365, I-66 champion, but give Awesome Truth the championships. That would be so much fun. Moving on, let's go to Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, brother versus brother. And a little aside note, I completely forgot about this before I recorded, but I forget that Rikishi follows me on my personal account. I don't know why. I don't know how, but if Rikishi, if you're watching this, what's up? I don't know how you're following me, but thank you for following me all these years. Man, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso. A lot of people are pointing to Jey Uso as winning this match, and I think that's most likely the right choice. I think yeet beats no yeet because Jey Uso is just being pushed to the moon. I mean, he is now in the same conversations as Cody Rhodes and LA Knight and all these guys who are deserved of a main event title push. Jey Uso is in that. I mean, go watch the performances he's had leading up to this point. I mean, he won Tag Gold with Cody Rhodes, and he was also in War Games this past November. I think Jey Uso picks up the win. I think it's the one really a solid pick, I'd say, and it really starts to tell a compelling story. I think this is something that wrestling fans are looking at with Jey and Jimmy Uso. They say, oh, it's brother versus brother, happens every 15 years. Let's think about the implications. Jimmy Uso loses to Jey Uso. What does that do to the bloodline? What happens when Jimmy Uso loses? Is he kicked out of the bloodline day one? And then does he turn on Roman Reigns and the bloodline day two? Who knows? I think this is a match that's underrated, that's going to go so hard, and is going to have some interesting implications for night number 2 potentially. We'll see. But I'm going to say Jey Uso over Jimmy Uso. Let's keep it rolling here because we're already 13 minutes into this, and we got a lot of matches to get through. Let's go to the WWE Intercontinental Championship match. Of course, champion Gunther is taking on Sami Zayn. Now, I want to say this much about this match. People, wrestling fans in particular, are so quick to change their minds. Let's go back to WrestleMania, or not even WrestleMania, but when Sami Zayn had a WWE Championship match against Roman Reigns. So many people wanted to see him win. So many people thought he was deserved of a WWE Championship match and to win the belt. But now the tides have turned, and because Sami Zayn took a spot from Chad Gable, he doesn't deserve to win the IC title? I don't know about that. I will say, the whole training montage between Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. I loved it. There's some people that are on the fence about it, saying it's a little weird that it happened. You know what I mean? I loved it. I thought it was great. A little confused of, Chad Gable telling Sami Zayn how to beat Gunther. I don't know. I have not a clue. I do think, though, that Gunther continues his long, dominant, glorious championship reign and retains against Sami Zayn. I think this builds a really cool narrative of Chad Gable. I think this isn't the first thing. We got to be patient to see how this is going to pay off. But I do think Chad Gable eventually wins the IC title, and it might be as early as SummerSlam. I think that's going to be a fantastic place, maybe even Clash at the Castle. It's coming to Scotland. I know that's not technically where Gunther is from, but it's across the pond. Who knows? I really think that Gunther retains, and I think it sets up a future match with Chad Gable. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Rolling on, we got two more. I'm going to make sure I'm not wrong here. Yes, two more matches, I should say, on night one of WrestleMania. Of course, Women's World Championship match. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. This is a very interesting match. A lot of buildup, not on Raw or SmackDown, but in the background of all of this. Becky Lynch has had a few interviews with her book, asked about Rhea Ripley, and of course, the infamous stink face seen around the world as Rhea Ripley gave the stink face to Nia Jax. Really interesting the way that WWE is letting this build. Because Becky Lynch was talking about her book, said, how much of a disgrace it is for Rhea Ripley to do that in front of all the little girls of the WWE universe. Becky Lynch beats up Rhea Ripley on the MMA Hour. Super interesting, but I don't know if it's gotten the attention it deserves to be. I think it's going to be a great match, as almost every single Rhea Ripley championship match has been so far. But I do think that Rhea Ripley retains. She is by and far one of the most dominant and most popular women's champions on the roster right now, if not any roster right now. She's got a dedicated following, whether good or, you know what I mean. But I really do think Rhea Ripley retains just because she is this new star and she has so much going for her at this moment. When does she drop it? I don't know. It could be SummerSlam. I think a lot of these matches that are playing out at WrestleMania, we're going to see the aftermath, not at Backlash, which is in France, by the way, but I don't know. It could be in SummerSlam in Cleveland. Who knows? But I do think Rhea Ripley does retain night one of WrestleMania. Let's get to the main event of night one before we take a quick break here on Beyond the Podcast. This is one of the most interesting WrestleManias, one of the biggest WrestleMania main event for night one we've seen. Of course, The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins to determine the stipulation for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match on night number 2. You could honestly flip a coin either way, and I think wrestling fans would be quite entertained with the result. The two biggest questions are, okay, who wins, right? Who's going to win this tag team match? And number 2, who takes the pin? I've got an interesting scenario brewing in my head, right? First of all, this tag team match is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be everything and more, right? The betting odds have The Rock and Roman Reigns beating Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I do think that is the case. I do think The Rock and Roman Reigns win and set up the stipulations for night 2, because, there's so much that can happen in that match where everything's off the table. Anything goes. That's going to be so much fun to watch. And I'll talk about my ideas for what might happen on night 2 here in a second. But who do I think takes the pin? This is the sicko in me, right? We see Roman Reigns pinning Cody Rhodes. I think that's the way it has to be. That's the sicko in me, right? Because as wrestling fans, Cody Rhodes is the biggest babyface in any company right now, by far. Nuclear reactions on Raw when he comes out. He is the face of the WWE. We just saw him trademark that word, the Renaissance era, whatever happens with that. He's the guy. He is the guy in WWE. And it would only be fitting if in night one, if The Rock and Roman Reigns do win, Roman Reigns pins Cody Rhodes, and the WWE Universe right after is this what's going to happen in night two? That just sets up so many awesome scenarios. So I think Rock and Reigns, they get the win, and I think Roman Reigns pins Cody Rhodes to set up Bloodline rules for night number 2. Hey, what's going on, podcast peeps? It is Tyler Bruner back hanging out with you once again. We've got another break here on the podcast, so make sure you get on up, you stretch your legs, get some of your favorite drinks, your favorite snacks, because we got plenty more beyond the broadcast coming up next. If you are enjoying this show, just make sure you follow us on your preferred podcast platform, because that's how we're going to grow the show. That's how we're going to get more guests, and it's just going to be a lot more awesome for many more episodes to come. Also, make sure you follow us, subscribe to our social channels. You can find those in the description of this episode. All right, we got some more lo-fi hip-hop and plenty more beyond the broadcast coming up next. All right, back from the break, and let's get to night number 2. This is going to be the most interesting night in WrestleMania history, I think. This is going to be crazy, over the top, and I cannot wait. Let's start with one of the matches that I am not looking forward to. I'm going to be flat honest with you. I could care less for this match. And I think everyone else could care less for this match. I could be wrong. The internet could be like waiting for this match. I doubt it. So, of course, we're talking about Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins versus the Final Testament. That's Karrion Kross and Akam and Razar. I think I'm saying those names right. It's AOP. It's Authors of Pain. Okay. And a Philadelphia street fight, which I think will be interesting. I forgot about the Philadelphia street fight part, so that might be fun to watch. You know what I mean? But, you know, I'm not trying to put anything past what Bobby Lashley and his squad's doing or Karrion Kross and his squad are doing. I just don't think there's anything interesting going on, right? I think the Final Testament is a cool enough squad, you know what I mean? Cool enough faction. I just don't think people care, and I don't care personally. They're all fantastic performers. I don't know, but I will say this: I do think the Final Testament gets the win that legitimizes them as an actual faction. Of course, the Judgment Day is the faction. They're trying to be, I don't know, a knockoff Judgment Day. Who knows? But I do think that the Final Testament gets the win over Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits on night 2 of WrestleMania 40. Let's keep it going. United States Championship match. Logan Paul, the champion, trying to fend off Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. I did skip over one match. We'll get to that. I was kind of squeezed in between there. But United States Championship match, I think this one might be obvious. I don't know. It's up in the air, but I do think that Logan Paul retains for a few reasons. Of course, the biggest reason is, I think one reason, not even a few, just one reason. Logan Paul, of course, on his show Impulsive, announced that SummerSlam is coming to Cleveland. It would be wrong if Logan Paul wasn't champion going into SummerSlam. It seems wrong, in my honest opinion, to have anyone else but Logan Paul, the Cleveland native, or the Ohio native, I should say, retain into SummerSlam. I think Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, they're going to put on a really fun fight. Of course, with Randy Orton making another WrestleMania, he always puts on really good matches. But I think this one's pretty obvious. I think Logan Paul retains as the U.S. champion, at least until SummerSlam, where hopefully one of these next two guys will challenge for the U.S. title. Of course, I'm talking LA Knight and AJ Styles. This is going to be a really fun match. I really do think. People are sleeping on this match a little bit because, again, people want to see LA Knight in a championship match, which I do not blame them. I think he should have been in that United States Championship match because I don't know if he's quite that superstar that doesn't need a title to be a legend. I think he needs to win at least something in the WWE aside from the $1 million championship, which, yes, that is his only championship victory in WWE. It's a head scratcher for sure. It really is. But LA Knight, AJ Styles, with the tease of AJ Styles getting a new theme song, that's going to be interesting. Because, of course, this is a new AJ Styles. New look, buffer guy. Really excited to see what his whole theme is going to be. It's going to be a lot different, at least from what's been touted. It's going to be a lot different to suit who he is now. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm excited for that one, though. I do think that LA Knight should win and needs to win at WrestleMania. LA Knight was the biggest babyface at the end of 2023. There's no question about that. LA Knight had a rocket strapped to his back, and that rocket is taking a little bit longer to leave orbit. I'm really hoping LA Knight wins, and I really hope LA Knight gets a spot to win a championship. A lot of people say it's the U.S. title. I think that's a safe bet to make, potentially at SummerSlam. Who knows? But I'm a big LA Knight fan. I remember watching him when he was Eli Drake. Yeah. And now he's LA Knight. Yeah. I had to do it. I really do like what LA Knight is doing. People might say he's a little clunky in the ring. I don't know. I love what he's doing on the mic. I love what he's doing in the ring. And I love that he's defying the odds, because so many times he was told no. So many bad situations in this company or that company. He's making the best of his opportunities right now. And I cannot wait to see LA Knight finally win gold at some point in the near future. But give me LA Knight over AJ Styles. Let's go to the WWE Women's Championship match. Of course, this is Io Sky, the champion, facing Bayley. This one has been so interesting. A lot of people have been saying that this match has not had any momentum whatsoever, right? When Bayley was betrayed by Damage Control, the internet went nuts for that. I think it was the perfect time for Damage Control to kick Bayley out, and it's been a really interesting story to tell. The sad thing is, Paramore will not be there to play Bayley out, which is a bummer. But if you go to her Twitter page right now, she's got a really awesome video package you need to check out. I do think, though, and maybe this is me, maybe I'm not trying to I'm not trying to back up bad booking or whatever. I do think this match, especially Bayley in particular, didn't get the attention it needed, on air time, I should say. And that's the reason. Bayley wasn't on the posters, wasn't on the semi-trucks, wasn't on the programs. Kind of a CM Punk-esque angle in a way. Bayley's not getting the attention she deserves, but when she wins that match, people are going to look and they're going to be like, oh man, we needed this. Again, with Bayley winning the Royal Rumble, you would have wanted her. I wanted her to get some more attention, some more screen time. But I think Bayley beats Io Sky for the WWE Women's Championship belt. Io Sky's championship reign has been weird, to say the least. I don't know. I hope I'm not the only one who thinks this, but it's just been a weird reign. She's been under the wing. Bayley's been the leader of Damage Control. Io Sky won the title. Of course, you have Kairi Sane and Asuka winning the tag belts. So Damage Control looked untouchable until they kicked out Bayley, and I think Bayley picks up the win, and that's going to be a clean sweep for the loss for Damage Control. They're going to lose. I think they're going to lose night one with that tag team match, and I think that Io Sky is going to lose night two, which sets up some really cool implications for the Raw after Mania and moving forward for Damage Control. So give me Bayley over Io Sky. Two more matches here on the card. I'm hoping I'm not missing one. I'm going to look through my thing. There's some of these that are kind of tucked in between the long line of text for these matches, but it looks like I am good so far. World Heavyweight Championship match. The champion, Seth freaking Rollins. The boy from Iowa, baby. Taking on the Scottish psychopath, Drew McIntyre. Man, I'm excited for this match. I know I've been saying that throughout this entire thing. I'm just giddy WrestleMania season is one of my favorite seasons. Past March Madness, past the Super Bowl. I love WrestleMania season. And it's for championships like this that are really fun. I am going to put a lot of money on Drew McIntyre. A lot of reasons behind that. Drew McIntyre is having the best character work of his entire career, especially the angle he's doing with CM Punk. If you haven't seen it, Drew McIntyre on a video package held a funeral for the career or whatever of CM Punk. He's like, look at my eyes. What do you see? Not a match at WrestleMania for CM Punk. I mean, come on. Come on. I think Drew McIntyre picks up the win, and also he needs a win in front of a live crowd at WrestleMania. I know a lot of people, I think, boo him somewhat, but I can almost guarantee people are going to turn and they're going to cheer the absolute hell out of him when he wins the World Heavyweight Championship. He won the WWE Championship in front of nobody. And don't go back and watch it because a lot of the pandemic stuff is so unwatchable by today's standards. But I really think that he needs that win. And also it sets up Clash at the Castle. It's in Scotland. It's the perfect situation. Whether he drops it there or not, I don't care. I really do believe that the fact that Clash at the Castle is in Scotland and the fact that he did not win a championship in front of a crowd, give me Drew McIntyre 100,000%. All right. The craziest match of the night. The main event for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And yes, that is the official full name of it. Oh, I'm going to get tired of saying that. It is Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes 2 at WrestleMania. You know, this match really does set up a very interesting series of twos or second matches at WrestleMania. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Triple H, Cena, Rock. This is going to be a freaking barn burner. Now, going off of my first prediction of Rock and Roman Reigns winning, Roman Reigns getting the pin over Cody Rhodes, anything goes. And I think there's a few predictions that we should talk about in anticipation for this, right? Number one is people are pointing to when The Rock beat up Cody Rhodes. In the back, that trailer was illuminated, had Stone Cold Steve Austin and John Cena in it. Who knows? I think that'd be really cool. I did hear somewhere, and I was trying to find the rumor and who said it, but they said that John Cena has to have like limited contact for a movie coming up or a show or something like that. That might be the case. John Cena, I think it'd be really cool to have him back. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back would be amazing. Again, for my prediction of Jey Uso being Jimmy Uso could come out and super kick Roman Reigns. I don't know. I really do not know. But I think the place, I think Philadelphia would explode if John Cena came out, if Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, rushed the ring, beat the crap out of Roman Reigns and The Rock and all these guys, and helped Cody win the championship. I do want to say this too. They're not really a rumor, it's not confirmed rumors, but more just what people want. Of course, if you watched a lot of the coverage that WWE was doing, of course, at WWE The World or The Worlds, whatever that event was called, there were some MJF chants in the crowd. You know, I do not think, and this is just me, I have a knack for saying this won't happen, and then things do happen. I don't think MJF is at Mania. MJF did not show up at any events. He did respond to a Rock tweet, which sure, he's done things like that before. Same thing with Okada. People thought Okada was going to make it into the Royal Rumble and then show up at Mania, and he's in AEW. I don't think MJF shows up at Mania, and I don't think MJF shows up in WWE. I just think that MJF is as AEW as Chris Jericho is, as the Young Bucks are. He is an AEW talent through and through. And not to say that his character couldn't get over WWE. Of course not. It absolutely could. I mean, there are so many people, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, he would probably have a match with The Miz, which that would be awesome. Pun intended. But I just don't see MJF leaving AEW. I don't think Tony Khan would be that reckless to let a homegrown talent leave AEW. I don't think MJF comes to Mania. I don't think MJF shows up in WWE. And hopefully this doesn't serve as a time capsule where I have to eat my words, but I will if I have to. But night number 1, let's get back to the prediction. Whatever shenanigans happens, because of course there's going to be shenanigans. It's the Bloodline. We know the story. It's the same shtick. I think if there's Bloodline rules, I think Cody Rhodes gets some help, whether it's whoever comes out to help him, right? I do think Cody Rhodes finishes the story. There you go. There's the big payoff for this entire thing. Cody Rhodes finishes his story at WrestleMania. I don't know where this narrative came through that Cody Rhodes, of course, finishing the story is winning the championship. I get that. But whatever narrative is being thrown around that, he doesn't have to win at WrestleMania. He could win at SummerSlam. He could win at Survivor Series. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. All right. I'm not a Cody crybaby. All right. I love my tribal chief. Okay. I've loved the tribal chief for all up until this point. He is the perfect heel. But don't you think it would be a little wrong if Cody Rhodes, after a year plus of building this story, this timeline, wouldn't it be disingenuous if he didn't win at WrestleMania? The biggest, what is touted as the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Wouldn't it be wrong if he didn't win? I don't know. I think a lot of people right now have firm belief he's going to win. That includes myself, baby. I really do think Cody Rhodes beats Roman Reigns. Whether he gets help or not, he wins the, I'm going to say this once more, undisputed WWE Universal Championship. God, they got to switch it back to just the WWE Championship. It's a mouthful. But I think Cody Rhodes, victorious, finally finishes the story, whatever that means at this point, and wins night 2 of WrestleMania. My friends, this has been such a fun episode. I love doing this. I love talking pro wrestling. I am fully invested back into it. I see so many clips from not just AEW and WWE, but all sorts of wrestling, and it really gets me excited. So maybe in the future, we start shifting this whole shindig to just wrestling. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. We got Joe Pecoraro, who's a huge wrestling fan. We could get him back on the show for some of the big pay-per-views. And we could talk to a lot more independent wrestlers. I think that'd be so much fun. There's so many independent wrestlers that are making a scene right now that I think would be phenomenal to talk to. One of which I'm excited to have on this upcoming episode. So we've got 3 episodes that I'm recording here soon. One of them is with one of my dear friends, or not dear friends, but with one of my media friends, I should say. That's kind of my blanket term. I say with people that I went to college with, or I've been able to meet through my different jobs. One of my media friends, Madeline McCormick, so excited to talk with her. She's a digital marketing manager, I think is her title. So excited to talk to her and pick her brain about marketing and getting that first job out of college and COVID. We're going to have such a great conversation. Another conversation we're going to have is with a independent wrestler called Nikki Free. That's going to be a great episode. We have been back and forth for so long to get this interview scheduled, and finally we've got it scheduled. So I'm so excited to talk with Nikki Free. And finally, we got another media friend of mine that I was able to meet recently, and I'm so excited for that one. I'm going to keep that one a little bit of mystery because we're going to record that, I think on Monday the 15th is when I'm recording it. So we've got 3 weeks of phenomenal interviews coming up soon. So if you're not following us, make sure you do, because we got some great conversations coming up on Beyond the Broadcast. I think that is going to do it for this episode. Happy WrestleMania Day. And of course, if you want more wrestling content, let me know. I'm more than happy to talk shop about pro wrestling any day of the week. We can transition this into a mostly wrestling podcast if we want to. We can interview some independent wrestlers. I'm trying to get some bigger names on the podcast. So if you want to do that, we can do that. We're free to do whatever the heck we want. It's our podcast. We'll do what we want. So if you want some more pro wrestling content on the show, let me know in the comments below. And of course, please make sure you support the podcast. That's the number one way that we're going to grow this shindig. So follow the podcast on your preferred podcast platform. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where we've got the video content. And if you're on YouTube, please say hi, YouTube. I love when people say hi, YouTube. It's the most funny thing that people do. Just say hi, YouTube in the comments. We love that. And of course, leave us a rating or a review on your preferred podcast platform. That's how we're going to get to the top of search results, and that's how more people are going to find this podcast. I'm going to end it off by saying thank you so much for following this podcast. Again, I am so sorry we didn't get this episode out on Friday. Life comes at you sometimes, and when this isn't your primary job, you got to do your best to pivot and try something new. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, do all that fun engagement stuff that influencers tell you to do on social media. I don't call myself an influencer. I'm just a normal Joe, dude. That's all I am. But happy WrestleMania weekend. Of course, I will be watching. So excited. Can't wait for Cody to finish the story. And of course, we will see you next week on the next episode of Beyond the Broadcast. All right. We'll see you later, podcast peeps.